another episode of Beautiful Subconscious. Today, I am so pumped to introduce a powerhouse I feel really honored to know, Dr. Jacinta de Prinzio, or others may know her as Dr. J. Let me give you this rundown of this powerhouse. She is a holistic chiro with over 16 years of experience in the health industry and co-director of Open Space Healing. She's a seven-figure business, that's become the beacon of holistic wellness. Dr. J is also the co-founder of the #1 trending business podcast, the Wealthy Wellness Business Podcast, where she helps ambitious entrepreneurs build authentic, high-profit practices. Hello, Dr. J. How are you?
I'm so well. Thank you so much for having me, Shell.
This is great. I'm so honored. I'm really, really pumped to chat with you, and especially on what we're going to discuss today, which I think is the dream for so many women, building a $1 million business and living in your feminine. And you are going to explain how you can do both. So I am super, super pumped to chat to you about that. But before we get right into it, like every other episode, we're going to pull a card and it'll be up to you to let me know when to stop. So when you're ready, let me know.
Now.
Okay, cool. You are never given a dream without the ability to make it come real.
Ooh, love. Thank you.
I love.
Hey, that is true.
Isn't it? Right. Mic freaking drop, and so completely in alignment to obviously what we're talking about today, which is building $1 million business and living in your feminine. And once you've thought it, as you've proven, there is ability to be able to make it come true. So first things first, I would love to hear about your journey and hear about how you became, a holistic leader in the field and, hearing your wealth of experience over the last 16 years.
Yeah. Great question. So let's take it back because I feel like the experience started when I was very, very young. I'm from Mandurah, so it's a coastal town in WA. And my parents, they had a really big real estate agency in Mandurah, one of the top agencies in Australia. And so I spent my afternoons doing homework in their office, seeing all that unfold. And I do remember my mum being a super stressed out person at that time, but she was also kind of like into health, but not really knowing what health was. So very distinctly remember her making like this liver cleansing detox juice that had parsley, carrot and celery in it before I went to school, and just like trying to get me to drink it, while she was rushing around like packing bags and all that sort of thing. So I was definitely introduced to holistic healing and health from a very early age, but it wasn't at the level in which I would consider healthy now. It was very ad hoc, like, she's not eating enough vegetables, so now I need to do this like protocol juice, right?
Yeah. But how forward thinking for that time, my gosh. Ahead of her game.
Yeah. And at that age, so I was a very, very hyperactive kid. I had a really hard time listening at school. That school system just did not suit me. Report cards were always Jacinta doesn't listen, Jacinta doesn't concentrate. And so my mum knew that when I was going to leave school that I probably wasn't going to have to be able to have an office job, because whenever I would go back to their office at the end of the day, they would give me jobs and things to do. And my sister used to love it, admin-y things. And I used to just absolutely hate it with a passion. So I didn't ever know what I wanted to be when I was at school, but I distinctly remember saying to my mum, I don't know what I want to be, but I know it's going to be fun. And she definitely took that, because I was a bit of a wild child. She just definitely took that as that typical thing of Jacinta's this wild, unpredictable thing that I don't know how to control.
Can't contain her.
And she's just, and she's just going to wind up on the street somewhere. I don't know what she thought was going to happen to me. But as a kid, I just had this knowing that I was going to do really great things. And I knew that I wasn't going to do things the same as what everyone else did, because I would look around me and I would see people the way that they were living their lives. And I would just think surely life should be more fun than this, right? but I was very scattered. Like I did lack a lot of direction. And so my mum, when I graduated, she actually suggested that I go and study personal training. And that was her way, since she's told me since then. She said that was my way of trying to like guide you into something that may be of a positive health direction, because I was scared of what was going to happen to you if you didn't go in that direction. It just showed her headspace. And so I did that. Like I did my personal training course at the Australian Institute of Fitness, which was an 8-week course. And I thought that I was the absolute bee's knees after that. I thought that I knew everything that there was to do about health. But during that time, I got very, very stuck into working out, like obsessively working out. So I would, train that, all that extra energy that I had, I like funneled it into personal training and training myself, to the point where I was training like 3 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't really eating that much either. So very restrictive, that typical thing of like, the fat burning tablets and counting calories and being really super body conscious, all of those types of things. And I was just going so hard. And I remember driving to my third training session of the day, and I just pulled over and vomited in the car because my body was so depleted. And I just kept pushing. And so then, because I was pushing and I wasn't listening to my body, I ended up getting glandular fever, and then couldn't even get out of bed. Like even walking to the fridge to get something to eat was really taxing. And so that was a really interesting time, because in my mind, I'd never been more focused about health, because, I was, that was my career, but I'd never been sicker. Like I could hardly even, get up and go for a walk. And so it really altered my perception of, health, and it kind of planted some seeds for me. From there, I went to university. I studied sports science, but then didn't really feel like that degree was going anywhere. And so it happened to be at the same time that I was studying sports science, the chiropractic degree was the same. And so I transitioned into that, kind of just like a, this sounds good type thing. And that was one of those moments, I feel, that when the universe knows better, that was like the moment that changed it all. I moved to Melbourne. I lived with a friend of mine who was celiac, and she, was into holistic healing. That world just completely opened up to me. And then that obsessive type behavior that I had for exercise and, for other things, then got channeled into holistic healing, but true healing, so true health, true vitality. Yeah. And I studied postgraduate Czech practitioner holistic lifestyle coaching from there, obviously graduated from chiropractic. Then when I was looking at, start where I was going to work, it was so important to me to infuse that holistic mentality into chiropractic care as well. And that's when Andy and I met, and we joined forces with Open Space Healing.
I love that.
Yeah, my business partner, for those of you who don't know.
And yeah, you guys are an incredible duo together. I just love seeing what you guys have created and continue to create. But hearing your journey is awesome, from understanding that, and so many can relate, and I definitely relate with just having that kind of black sheep kind of feel of, I know I'm not supposed to fit into that, but or that, I can almost fit into all of it, but not any one thing, and just trying to figure out what that actually means and what that looked like. And I love that your mum kind of helped guide in a way to lead you on this path, and for you to channel that energy that you had to, dive into the wellness side of things. So it's safe to say that you naturally, or when you are into something, you had that hustle kind of mentality, and it was just like, all right, I'm in, and I'm so in. And with that in mind now, what have you learned from having that hustle mentality, and with people that might still be in it, or the women that are operating their businesses in that space? What advice can you give them?
Yeah. And this is where the whole thing just is so great, because I learned how to operate in a way that was, a more balanced way through my holistic healing. And I've been able to apply that to obviously my business, the way that I work in my business, and also the other healthcare practice owners that I mentor as well. So yeah, definitely you are 100% correct that my default is the hustle. And when I think about hustle, I don't necessarily think about it like, just grinding without a purpose. I think about it like yang energy. So obviously you have the yin and the yang of the body. We have the yin and the yang energy of energy output. And yang energy is obviously energy output, right? So it's like training hard, energy output, working to make something come into fruition, energy output. And then what became really clear when I was working with clients is that those who only did energy output and didn't do yin, so didn't bring in how do we actually bring the energy back into ourselves, rest, restore, reconnect, those were the ones that would break down. And so in my own, knowing that and knowing like how I needed to help my clients, I was able to think about the way in which I was moving in the world and be very specific about, okay, when I'm going for it, like when I'm getting it done, okay, there's yang energy there, but how is it that I can bring more yin, bring more restore into my life, knowing that I have a default for doing, like a default for just going really hard. And this has also come through being burnt, like the self-burnt, like I burnt myself out when I wasn't honoring that in myself. And, there was a time potentially, I think it was like 6 years ago, where I was just so focused on my dream, so focused on building something that I ended up, by the time I was done building it, that was when we first hit 7 figures actually. By the time I was finished building it, I didn't even want it anymore.
Oh,
like I was like, I don't even want to be doing this anymore. And so in order to fall back in love with my business again, I had to figure out a new way to do it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that you can understand that, right? Everything you just said, you're just like, yeah, that go, like I can see it. I want it. I'm hungry for it. And then it finally comes and you're just like, oh, I pushed my threshold so beyond anything that it's just not as fruitful, or I guess the feelings that you expect it to be when you hit that certain goal, which, I still like, it's such an admirable goal. And I'm always inspired by you ladies. And I think the way that you have, taken what you've learned and what you've built in that space and been like, cool, yes, we were able to build that and achieve these 7 figures, but now we always learn, we always know better. It's just like, what can I do differently moving forward? It's now like understanding that, yes, all that energy, all that yang output, all that energy output, consciously knowing that that's what happens. I think the big lesson I took from that is the way that you are consciously aware that you're going to need to match that with a yin, input to balance it out at some stage throughout the week or throughout the day or whatever it is. So I think that that's really powerful takeaway for the people that listen. So what do you do for your yin?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing that I'm currently working with is how I can be doing yang things in a yin way. So I've been, when I'm working on a project, like I call it my laptop zone, where it's like it's me and that laptop and nothing else exists. Yeah. I identified that I leave my body when I do that. Like I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I'm no longer Jacinta working on that. Like I have become the laptop. That's how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's been a journey of working on, okay, so how do I stay in my own energy, 80% in my own energy while I'm doing this thing and not fusing my energy with that. And that's something that's quite untangible. It comes down to the recognition in yourself to identify when you leave. Right. And what it then, and what it also feels like to be in your own energy. And so playing around with that first and then getting really good at, what does my breath feel like when I'm out of my energy? Like, am I looking around me? Is my nervous system really wired? And like, I feel like I have to rush through this. So can I do this in a way where I'm calm and, I'm breathing and my jaw is not clenched?
That's powerful. And so have you noticed the difference approaching it that way, where you're like, I'm in my body and I'm on my laptop, and I'm like, what are the things that you've noticed going about it that way?
Yeah. So when I first started doing this, it was like, a constant dialogue of I'm out of my body. Okay, I'm in my body. I'm out of my body. I'm in my body. Just picking up. But for me, it's the awareness. So I spoke to Andy about it, my business partner, because I wanted to be accountable for it. And she identified in me that I am very like, you can't even talk to me in those places because I don't even look up from the screen.
Right.
So it was, again, like connecting to my breath and being present with my environment around me so that, I could move through it. And I actually found that I would be very agitated when I was working because I didn't want any distractions because I felt like I just wanted to be in that tunnel vision mode.
I get it.
And so it was also about like, is this really even that important, what I'm doing right now? Like, we've got to get it done. But like on the grander scheme of things where like, you know, you're just like a speck in the world and the universe,
Galaxy.
like is this really that important that you have to like be so invested in what you're doing right now? Yeah.
Oh, I completely agree and can relate to that entirely with what you were saying with just being in that space of tunnel vision where you just want to get it done. And I often find I consider not co-working with people because I'm like, because they're going to have to talk to me and I don't really want to have to interact with them. And it's like that rigidity isn't always, you know, it's not always it's clearly not in the feminine, that's for sure, in what we're talking about today. And I find that I restrict myself or play this conflict within of just like, yes, I want to be in the synergy of other people, but I actually don't want to interact because there's stuff I got to get done. So it's this constant inner battle. I find, I used to feel it a lot more, but now, I'm being more aware that that's what's playing out. So I can completely relate to that. Does that ever happen to you?
Absolutely. I have the same thing where I'm like, let's co-work, but let's not. But I also have become more mindful about, for me, I do actually feel like I need to work in my own energy. And that is something in which I can honor more of my yin because being around people too much is too much for me. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in my own company. Like most people when they meet me and like when I do interviews and things, I think I'm really extroverted. But I'm like, as I'm talking, I have this battery that's like, ding, and then eventually it's just like I'm out, and then I
battery
have to,
low,
be completely by myself. Yeah, completely by myself, just Netflix, like just trash TV. Like that's why I love trash TV because it just helps to switch off so much. But yeah, I think it's like identifying, number one, you know, like, are you leaving yourself when you're working, but also do you actually just need to like be by yourself? For me, that's definitely the case.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were fortunate enough to just be in Bali together, which I'm very like, that was a really cool experience to be in a business retreat together. And I found, you know, in that space, even though, you know, you're with such inspiring people and they're like-minded and they get it, they just get it. I often still find that I'm susceptible to the energy of that room or the rooms of big people. And I'm just like, I just need a second to ground myself. And I would like sit in, well, especially the first night or the first afternoon after our first day, we had an egg bath in my ensuite. So I just sat, no water, but I just sat in there. I'm like, I just need a second to ground. And it's when you know that that's the things that you need, you can just own it. And it's like, before I used to question it, like, I don't feel like anyone else feels this like exhausted or anxious or however it felt after interactions, but I'm like, I do. So I was trying to push through and not identify with that. But now knowing that that's just how I'm made up and I do absorb a lot of energy and have got my ways to not let it affect me too much. But there's always going to be some tools and techniques that you need to apply to be able to support yourself when you know that to be true for you.
Absolutely. And in a group like that, like the one that we were in, which was, you know, like you say, super high level, like just so much inspiration, so much like to implement as well. I find that it's very easy to no longer be doing what you think you need to be doing on your business or in your life and just following the path of the exciting, shiny thing. And so yeah, I'm the same. Like I definitely in those scenarios, I take what I think is right for me, and then I get full with information, and I don't like adding anything else from there, because then it feels as though like I no longer have my own compass, right? Like I'm just getting pulled in all these different directions rather than being super solid on like where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I think that's why, like, obviously, you know, I've grown a very like successful business, manage a lot of team, do all those things. And that is one thing that I feel as though it has catapulted. That is, it's always like, I know exactly what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. And I don't let, I don't let myself get distracted with shiny objects.
Yeah. I love that. I love that focus, and I love the ability to be able to like silence out the noise, or at least know that the noise is there, but it's like, I can hear you, but this is what I know that I'm going to focus on. And it's proven, like what you guys have built and the way that you've built is so incredibly authentic, and you've made it be just a space that is quite like no other, because the way that you have infused all the things that you love and you're passionate about and that's real for you, and you put it in and you create a space, like it really does, like, completely resonate with the women that I, know you to be. So I think it's like just power to you. I love what you guys are doing. Hello, lovely listeners. Our Total Life Transformation Program is live. If you feel stuck in your health, career, relationships, or money, this is the chance for a complete revamp. Over 6 months, you'll experience powerful changes that will transform every part of your life. With the guidance of 5 specialists, so yours truly, a kinesiologist, money mentor, functional health practitioner, career advisor, and our relationship coach, we address 4 key life pillars: your health, your career, your money, and your relationships. One investment shifts you from feeling low-key unfulfilled to fully energized and inspired in every area of your life. Health. If stress, emotional baggage, or unhealthy habits drain you, we will help release what's in your subconscious and create a personalized nutrition and supplement plan to reset your energy and health. Career. If you feel lost or stuck in your career, our kinesiologist and career mentor provide clarity, confidence, and an action plan to move forward with purpose. Money. If scarcity or fear around money keeps you stuck, we heal your financial blueprint. With our Money Mentor, you will gain practical strategies to confidently manage your finances for life. And relationships. If disconnection in your relationships leave you feeling unseen, we heal emotional wounds, leading to deeper connection, trust, and love. Now it's time to create your extraordinary life. So book your clarity call now for our Total Life Transformation Program, because it is live and waiting for you. So what I loved the other day was...
Thank you.
Pleasure. What I loved the other day was I saw on your Insta, and it was so crazily in sync because I was doing it the day before, but you were dancing in your feminine, and you were like dancing slowly and being really like, in your body and sensual. And like I was at a yoga studio, like the yoga studio that I teach at the day before, and I was just going to get a practice in, but I found I was just crawling, like just really for no one else but for me, but just seductively or just sensually and just being in that energy. And it felt like it brought me back to me. And when I saw what you posted, I was like, yes, I get that. So can you explain like what do you get out from doing that, and why you believe it's so empowering and important?
Yeah, well, I've been dancing now for about 7 years, and I really do feel like, because I dance at a studio, so I dance for like with choreography, but then I dance for me, for my own energy at home. So it's like for 2 different purposes. Mm-hmm. But when I first stepped into the dance studio, it was like this unlocking of my femininity. That's when I really think that it clicked for me, how powerful it is to be female.
Yeah.
Like, it can be cliche, but holy shit, we're a force, right? When you were tapped into that, there's like, it's like no other.
Oh my
God, I distinctly remember like there was this, yeah. I distinctly remember there was this choreography that we're doing to this really slow and sensual song. And obviously, like in a dance studio, you're in front of a mirror, right? So you can see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I just remember like, I felt so uncomfortable. I just felt so like, like I'm uncomfortable being sexy, and like I can see myself in the mirror and the others can see me. And in that moment, something clicked in my head where I was just like, screw it. I am going to fully drop in here and just shut out the noise, and I'm going to like fully embrace this. And it was like a switch. Like from that moment, I was like, I am woman. Hear me roar.
Yes.
I just was so connected. And like, I really realized how that like femininity and sensuality was such a beautiful force for creation, like creation in life, in business, in, like you're so magnetic when you're in those places. And it's a very powerful place to be in. Whenever I have lost that part of myself is usually when I'm feeling powerless. Mm-hmm. So when I want to tap back into that force and that power, like I definitely will use dance and movement to do that. And so it really depends on like the style of like the type of routine or the type of dance as to what it gives me. But that particular day that you were talking about, it was really like felt for me, I had just done a healing session that day where it was identified exactly what we were talking about just before, like how much I leave my body. And it was just like a reclaiming my own energy and having fun and being seen. Like I think that's a really big thing. You get, like dancing in your own space is one thing, but posting it online is like a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, that coming out, like to be seen as well, I think is something that I always push myself to do because it just benefits me so much. Yeah.
I love that. And I can see how that being seen and owning that and claiming that within yourself and taking up that space would absolutely have a direct effect on the multi-million-dollar business that you guys have created, right? As a female, especially. Absolutely. Because that's such a masculine thing, right? Like it's a big money maker, and that feels like I've had so much resistance to share that because we've been in that place for a really long time, and it's only been recently that we've started to share that. And the reason that I've stepped into that is because I realized that it's an inspirational thing. Mm-hmm. Right. And by not sharing your message and the greatness that you've done in the world, you're robbing people from being able to see that. Like from, your followers or even the people that you're working with to be able to fully own that. Mm-hmm. And, since stepping into the space of like mentorship with other practice owners as well, I think that's a really important thing for people to witness that as females, we can absolutely make, do all the things like, make profit and like do all this stuff and have really successful businesses and be fully connected and be heart-centered and be, like it doesn't have to be like one or the other. Like you absolutely can create both. Absolutely. I love that. And what I just heard, what I took from what you just said is that, by not sharing it, it's robbing others of knowing that, but also I giving them that experience of knowing that they are in the energetic space and in transmission of, women that have done it and doing it and knowing that on some level they have magnetized you ladies into their world or into their space. So there's some sort of resonance within them too, to be able to do the same. But yet if they were unaware that that's where you've reached, then they're going to keep potentially, we don't know, that could be something that is left unconscious with them, but you're bringing it up consciously to them, owning it, claiming it, and then knowing that they know you or you like, being in your world and getting supported by you, then that can activate something within them too. Like, hey, like I've got this in my sphere. I'm surrounded by women that are doing this exact same thing and they're owning it and they're claiming it and they're going, they're reaching those and achieving those accolades. It's like owning it is just, it really amplifies it. And I get it though. I find it's a scary space to be initially.
Yes. And, because you trigger a lot of people because it's like triggers their shadow, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think if you, move in these spaces, like you have to have that awareness that can happen. That's absolutely okay. I think whenever I trigger someone, I think, awesome, I've brought awareness to
Yeah.
them.
Oh, and that again is
Brought
empowering.
awareness to a part of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
It's not ours to take on board their triggers as well. And it's just like, you know what? It's all part of their journey and with love. Like it's just, but I think for women especially, we're coming out of a space, and I posted about this today, where it's just unapologetically claiming what you desire, what your needs are, and just speaking that truth, however it comes out, knowing that however it's received is not necessarily your responsibility. Obviously, you want to come with the most integrity and the most honest, I guess, alignment as you can. But ultimately, as women, I think, I don't know, I'm seeing it a lot with my clients. It's just like, they're like, I just don't give a shit anymore. And with love, I'm just going to go for it. And it's such a beautiful movement I'm seeing more and more of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you finding now that you're owning that space and you're owning your, feminine and doing both? Are you like, how is living in that space for you now compared to how you were living before?
Yeah. Oh, so much better. Just so much better on every level. Yeah. And it goes like it ebb and flows, right? I feel like, my life moves in like a pendulum. It can get a little bit far away from that, but then I identify that I'm far away, bring it back, then move away, bring it back. It's definitely, I have come up against some challenges with moving in this space, and it has been about what we were speaking about before, about like triggering other people. And I find it really curious, especially in the female space. Obviously, we're talking about being feminine and business and all those things. And this is a real thing, I think, that is quite prevalent, is that there's a lot of people that talk about female empowerment and, like we can do it all. But then when someone actually does that thing, there's the opposite. There's the opposite of that empowerment. And it's like jealousy or, like they just think that it's ego. That is ego that you're sharing these things. It's like, well, can't we share the things that we're proud about, considering that that's been the whole evolution of our time, like that we're finally doing the things in the world that, we have quote unquote, been taught and told that we've been suppressed from doing.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a bit of a thing that I'm moving through, or probably maybe a couple of years ago more than now. Mm-hmm. Definitely a lot of people have fallen away in my world because it was, too much for them in whatever way. And that's their journey and that's absolutely fine. Not everyone's aligned. Like I think that when you are moving in these spaces, like I'm changing all the time. So I can't expect the people that once were connected to change in the same way that I've changed.
Yeah, I really respect that. And I get it. I understand that. Like, I think as females, we love the people that we love. We love the connections that we have. We do have that nurture sense, and I think it can be an element of grief and sadness in a moment, for momentarily, when you're going to have to let things just take their natural course, and that may be relationships just dropping away a little bit, but it's a really beautiful, honoring space when you allow it to be, I think. And when you just surrender into like, you know what, like this is all is good at the end of the day. At the end of the day, everything is all as it should be. And yes, like maybe that relationship or that era of friendship or the community that I was once a part of, it just doesn't fit anymore. And that's okay. And it doesn't need to mean anything more than we're all just going about our natural, our natural paths and where we're supposed to go. But I do understand that. And I think it's really would be comforting, I think, for ladies that do listen to that, because I think a lot of the time their choices and decisions may be held back because they don't want to have to experience that. So in that case, what would you suggest to them?
Yeah, well, first it's about thinking about, do you want to still be in relationships with people if you can't be fully yourself? And is that, if you're fearing that that relationship is going to end, is it really a good relationship in the first place? Right? So that. And then the other being, like on the flip side of that, it may inspire somebody. It may actually, make them want to do really awesome things. So are you potentially keeping yourself small and keeping others around you small because you're not giving them enough credit? Like in the same token, there's been lots of people that have surprised me, that have like, oh, I want to come along with that journey. Like, let's do it. Like, cool. Okay. Like, we're doing the thing. Right. Everyone's like doing it. Yeah. So just do things for you. When you're authentic and you're doing things for you and you're making decisions for yourself, then more often than not, it's going to have a positive outcome. It's when we're trying to fit ourselves into the mold of others. That's when we have sickness in our bodies. That's where there's tension outwardly in our relationships as well, because will be part of you that, knows that you're wanting to expand and evolve. And potentially, like, the other part of you that's staying small is getting resentful, and that's playing out in your everyday relationships and conversations that you're having with people, just because you're projecting your own, stuff onto them. They may not even be thinking that.
Absolutely. It's so true. It's at the end of the day, it always just comes back to, you've just got to do what's right. And when you do what's right, you can do incredible, mind-blowing things that I think you even shock yourself in achieving and exploring and becoming. So I guess to take away, what would be some, like, if you had 3 tips in living in your feminine as you aspire to build, whether it's $1 million businesses or just your version of true success, what are the 3 things that you would suggest?
So first that comes to mind is, and this kind of sounds kind of boring, but I think it's so important, is to build structure in your business. Build some sort of system that it can be the yang, it can be the masculine hold, so that you can be feminine within it. Like, because, we've set up a lot in the back end of our business that is very technical. It's like, it's automation, sequences, like data, so that I can literally leave the practice and not have to worry about anything and be like, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to, go to dance and like live in those spaces. If you're resisting that, like if you're resisting actually having a well-structured business because you're not wanting to step into that, or you're fearing that some of your freedom or your, ability to like be soft or, all those things are going to be tampered with, is actually the opposite. Like, because that was my fear. I would never wanted to like strive for anything or grow anything because I thought I'm going to lose freedom, I'm going to lose joy, all those things. But it was when I took it really seriously and had the vision of, okay, I want to be in this space. That I guess is number 2, is the clear vision. Like, I want to create this life. What do I need to do in order to have that be a reality? So yeah, super clear on not only the vision that you have for your business in terms of like how it's running and what it's doing, but for your life as well. Like, what are you doing every single day? How are you moving in the world? And not putting parameters around that because you think that it's not possible. Because I think that there's a lot of people that they just do it the way that everyone else does it because they don't think that anything else is available to them. Yeah. So that's, not the case. And then number 3, really love on the people around you. So I think that it can be easy to be isolated and so I'm thinking about our business, and like there was a period of time where I felt like I needed to be more of the dictator boss, right? Like, do it my way. Like, I can't necessarily have a joke with our staff, can't really show my true self to them. That, like, with the right people, like, that's completely, BS, because I would consider a lot of our staff, friends. Like, we know each other, all those things. And it's just about knowing what hat you're wearing at what time. So when we're in the practice, when we're in business, it's like, it's business time. Like, these are the standards, this is what we do, this is what we talk about. As soon as that last client leaves and it's like we switch off, then it's kind of, a bunch of misfits. But we put that into, compartments, and we know the job that we're there to do. And then we're having a bit of, fun and freedom, like in the middle of those places. And I think if you build a culture like that, if you do have team, then that is going to bring you a lot of joy, like in your every single day, because most of your time is spent at work, right? For some people. Yeah. So it's like, how do we make this a really beautiful, enjoyable, lush experience for everybody?
Oh, that is powerful. I absolutely loved those 3 tips so much, more than you know, like just the structure, number one, and let that be your yang, let that be your masculine that supports you, because we need it, ladies. We need that feminine energy to be supported as well, or be held in a container of a masculine sort of structure, whether it is a physical masculine man or it's structure, just using those things and understanding that both are required for you to be able to then, live in what we like to be in more so, which is our feminine energy. So, we need the both. Second, knowing the goals and the vision of what you want your business to look like, what you want your life to look like, and how do they, interconnect, and how do they support each other and infuse together, like in the way that's authentic to you. And then 3, love on the people that are in your spaces, and you don't have to isolate yourself, and you don't have to, withhold it with the right people. You can be all of who you are and just know each other well enough to know what's needed at any given moment. So I think that is so, so powerful. Thank you for your time today, my love. So I feel very fortunate for the listeners that are joining us, and when they stumble across, hopefully they'll see what's available. And I probably should have asked you this off air, but in terms of a complimentary gift for our listeners, I don't know the time expiry date on it. You probably see it in the show notes, guys. So don't think you have forever and a day to be able to activate this. When you hear this, get it going now. But I would love for you to share what you would like to share with the listeners here at Beautiful Subconscious.
Yeah. So for those of you who have businesses, particularly in the health industry, so health practices, if that's you, then myself and my business partner, we have created a personalized program called the Freedom Academy. So that is for health practices to scale to 7 figures by working less, nailing their systems, and hiring A players. And it's $500 off for all of your listeners for, let's call it, a 2-week period from when this goes live. And there will be a code that I'll give you, Cheryl, that you can pop in the show notes to have that active.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. So where can people find you?
So you can find me personally through my Instagram at Dr. Jacinta de Prinzio. That's where I'm most active and where we have the most fun. But also Open Space Healing is the chiropractic practice that I have, and Wealthy Wellness Business is another Instagram. So we've got the 3 there.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today, my love. Thank you for everyone joining us for this episode. If you loved it, please let us know, share it, send us a DM, let us know what you've taken from this. And share it with someone that you believe this will be super, super powerful for. Like, we deserve to aspire to have the life that we want. And I believe, with these these takeaways in, being in your feminine, knowing that you can as you achieve the things that you want, is such a powerful message that we should all completely own. So thank you for your time. And until next week, take care of you.
Audience exclusive.